statement.
Okay.
And then switch over to you as well. Yes. Okay.
Ja, guten Tag. Vielen Dank, dass Sie gekommen, dass Sie unserer Einladung gefolgt haben. Wir haben jetzt heute auch zu begrüßen Herrn Rabbi Bergman aus USA. Herzlich willkommen. Wir sind Vorstand des Israelitischen Tempelverbandes. Ich bin Galina Jarkova, neben mir sitzt auch Eike Steinig. Und ich lasse heutige auch Pressekonferenz begrüßen. Heute bei uns in der Synagoge sind nicht viele Menschen, aber ich sehe, dass auch online viele Menschen da. Wir winken Sie zu, wir sehen Sie. Also herzlich willkommen. Und ich gebe das Wort Eike Steinig.
I just do the English translation. So, warm welcome from our first chairwoman, Galina Jarkova. We just started with a short delay, but warm welcome. A special guest to us is President Rabbi Bergman of the World Union for Progressive Judaism. This is the main supporter of our community, and I will just hand over to him that he can introduce himself. So heartily welcome from our side.
Das andere brauchst du nicht, weil es ist nur für Innenraum.
Okay. Okay.
Das ist nur für online, das kannst du gerne geben.
Okay, das ist online. Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is for me a privilege to arrive to Hamburg and to our community to express our support and also our commitment to really ask for the recognition of our roots in this community, in this city, and the history of the reform movement that really started here. For us, it's like a global organization. It's really, really important to stress our motherland, because reform movement born in Germany, and in Germany, the very beginnings in Hamburg. Not only because the first reform Sidur came from here, only because the first steps in Germany, Jewish life, with the revolution and the evolution of the reform movement. That means to be integrated to our society, to keep our roots like Jewish, and to become German-like citizens. And this is exactly our approach like liberal Jews, our commitment with the vision of the general society to work for the good will for everyone like one. And in these difficult times that we are living today in Europe, Middle East, it is so really difficult to build bridges and to be together. The track record of the reform movement in Germany is an inspiration for us. And on the other hand, we want also to stress that we also really grateful for the federal government of Germany. When the restitution, the claims conference, and all the educational and financial work to restitute and to support Jewish life is a clear evidence of the reparation and also hope for the future. In this case, we need really to struggle and to go to the justice to ask for something that we deserve. That is the right of recognition, the right of funding, and the more important thing, the right to come back to our original and first synagogue, that is our building, and this is our home, and this is our right, and this is also our future in this amazing city. Thank you very much. I will be open to answer questions if there are, and also to support our fellows here, because we are part of an extended progressive worldwide family.
Thank you very much. I'm starting with the statement of the board of the Israelitische Tempelverband of Hamburg regarding the lawful suit filed against the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for accepting our invitation and being here today. This is a decisive moment in a legal struggle that has become unavoidable. On June 25th, the Israelitische Tempelverband of Hamburg filed a lawsuit with the Administrative Court of Hamburg and against the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. The aim of this lawsuit is to obtain a binding legal declaration that our congregation is under a corporate law as well. We have historically been, and it has been protected under the Article 140 of the Basic Law of the conjunction with Article 137, paragraph 5 of the Weimar Constitution, which is still in force. Our congregation, founded in 1817 and was the world's first liberal Jewish community. As early as 1819, and at the latest through a Senate decree dated February 21, 1894, we were formally recognized as a public law religious body. For decades, we operated as one of the several recognized religious associations, Kultusverbände, within the Hamburg's unified Jewish community with our own religious autonomy, administration, finances, liturgy, and property. The Israelitische Tempelverband was therefore not a private association, but a fully recognized independent public law religious body with constitutional standing. In 1938, the National Socialist regime stripped away all Jewish communities in Germany of their corporate status under a racist and unconstitutional law. While many communities regained their legal status after 1945, ours did not. Despite the fact that our legal entity was never formally dissolved or extinguished by law, in 2004, our congregation resumed its religious and communal life, led by descendants of former temple members and new Jewish residents in Hamburg. Today, we are an active, international connected community with over 340 Jewish members and many supporters. We are affiliated with the Union of Progressive Judaism in Germany and the World Union for Progressive Judaism, the world's largest organization of liberal and Reform Jews, representing over 1.8 million members. Despite our clear religious, historical, and institutional identity, the city of Hamburg continues to refuse our legal recognition as a public law religious body. This refusal is not grounded by law or fact. It is a result of a deeper structural issue. Hamburg's international proceedings have relied solely on the positions of the Orthodox-dominated Jewish community of Hamburg, a body that was newly established in 1945 and granted corporative status only in 1948. Although the Jewish community of Hamburg has no legal continuity with the pre-war Jewish community or with the temple congregation, it claims to be exclusive heir of Hamburg Jewish legacy. This claim is historically inaccurate and legally unfounded. Yet, it was embraced uncritically by the authorities. Worse, it was promoted through a governmental commissioned legal opinion that mirrors the position of the Jewish community of Hamburg almost verbatim and has no objective or scholarly legitimacy. Beyond that, the Jewish community of Hamburg subjected our congregation to a campaign of legal harassment and public defamation. They have issued cases and desist orders accused of deceiving the public and claimed we have no rights to speak in the name of Hamburg's liberal Jewish heritage. These accusations are not legal arguments. They are attempts to delegitimize and silence a Jewish voice that does not conform to the theological and institutional monopoly. We are therefore not just plaintiffs in a legal case. We are also a religious community demanding equal treatment and protection against structural marginalization. Our case is legally sound. We demonstrate that we qualify as pre-existing altkooperierte public law religious body under Article 140 of the Grundgesetz. We show that our legal status did not end with the Holocaust and and that our reactivation in 2004 represents a continuation, not a rupture, of our religious life. But this lawsuit is more than a matter of a legal status. It's a statement of visibility, identity, and justice. We represent a form of Judaism that is rooted in the city's history and lives again today. Our service follows the Hamburg Rite. We maintain intellectual musical tradition of the temple, and we contribute to the religious and cultural pluralism in Hamburg. This issue has an international relevance. The Israelitische Tempelverband of Hamburg is not just any community. It's the birthplace of modern Reform Judaism. The world's first reform pseudo was published here. The Hamburg Temple is set the global precedent for sermons and vernacular choral music and blending of tradition with modernity. Our community remains a vital spiritual and historical link between the United States, Europe, and the Jewish world. To deny our legal status is not merely a bureaucratic decision, it's an act of historical erasure. It sends a dangerous message that even in 2025, Germany is willing to marginalize a central stand of Jewish tradition under pressure for dominant religious groups. We are not asking for favors. We are claiming that by history, law, and conscience, we call that our authorities to recognize Jewish diversity and the end of one-sided privileging at one religious interpretation over another. We have shown patience, goodwill, and openness for years, but we have now reached a point where legal action is our only remaining recourse. We thank you, our legal team, our supporters around the world, and many international voices standing in solidarity with us. We know we are not alone. We trust that the court will affirm our rights, and with them, the rights of Jewish pluralism to accept and to be recognized in the Federal Republic of Germany. Thank you very much. Sollen wir das auch noch auf Deutsch? We could have also a German translation if required. So, from the background, so our lawyer has presented the lawsuit to the federal court, which is quite extensive. And there was a background story beforehand that the story is, we first get in contact in 2021, and since then there were messages and texts sending around all the time. So, and also the opinion of the Jewish community of Hamburg was asked, and we don't find it very legally consistent. So, if there are questions.
Federal Court. Bundesverwaltungsgericht oder Bundesverfassungsgericht?
Nein, das Verwaltungsgericht in Hamburg. The court in Hamburg, yes.
Ach so, okay.
Es gibt eine Bitte, nochmal den Text auf Deutsch.
Okay, kein Problem. Ja. Erklärung des Vorstandes des Israelitischen Tempelverbandes zu Hamburg zur eingereichten Klage gegen die Freie und Hansestadt Hamburg. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, wir danken Ihnen, dass Sie heute unserer Einladung gefolgt sind. Der heutige Tag markiert einen entscheidenden Schritt in einem jahrelang leider notwendig gewordenen juristischen Verfahren. Wir, der Israelitische Tempelverband zu Hamburg, haben am 25. Juni 2025 beim Verwaltungsgericht Hamburg Klage gegen die Freie und Hansestadt Hamburg eingereicht. Ziel dieser Klage ist die Feststellung unseres Status als Körperschaft des öffentlichen Rechts. Ein Status, den unsere Gemeinde seit ihrer historischen Anerkennung im 19. Jahrhundert innehatte und der niemals rechtswirksam entzogen worden ist. Der Tempelverband wurde 1817 gegründet und war damit die erste liberale jüdische Gemeinde weltweit. Seit 1819 wurden wir als öffentlich-rechtlicher Kultusverband durch den Hamburger Senat anerkannt, spätestens jedoch mit Senatsbeschluss vom 21. Februar 1894. Wir waren über Jahrzehnte hinweg ein gleichberechtigter Kultusverband innerhalb der damaligen deutsch-israelitischen Gemeinde. Mit einem eigenen religiösen Zuständigkeit, eigener Verwaltung, eigener Liturgie und eigenem Vermögen. Der Israelitische Tempelverband war damit ein öffentlich Subjekt im Sinne der Staatskirchenrecht, nicht wie etwa eines Vereins, sondern eine rechtlich eigenständige Religionsgemeinschaft mit Verfassungsrang. Der nationalsozialistische Staat entzog 1938 allen jüdischen Gemeinden in Deutschland per Unrechtsgesetz die Körperschaftsrechte. Nach dem Ende der Shoah wurden diese Rechte in vielen Fällen wiederhergestellt, in unserem Fall jedoch nicht. Und dies, obwohl weder eine formale Auflösung noch ein rechtswidriges Erlöschung unserer Körperschaft festgestellt worden ist. Im Jahre 2004 wurde die Arbeit unseres Verbandes durch die Mitglieder aus Hamburg, darunter auch Nachfahren der historischen Gemeindemitglieder, wieder aufgenommen. Heute sind wir eine lebendige, international vernetzte Gemeinde mit über 340 jüdischen Mitgliedern, assoziierten Unterstützer mit einer klaren religiösen Ausrichtung im Geiste des Hamburger Tempels. Wir sind Mitglied der Union Progressiver Juden und der World Union for Progressive Judaism, der weltweit größten Dachorganisation liberaler Jüdinnen und Juden mit über 1,8 Millionen Mitgliedern. Doch trotz unserer klaren religiösen, historischen und organisatorischen Identität verweigert uns die Stadt Hamburg bis heute den Körperschaftsstatus und damit auch die Gleichstellung mit anderen jüdischen Religionsgemeinschaften. Diese Verweigerung beruht nicht etwa auf sachlichen oder rechtlichen Argumenten, nein, vielmehr sie ist Ausdruck einer politischen, strukturellen Problem. Die Stadt Hamburg hat sich ihren Prüfprozess einseitig auf die Position der orthodox dominierten jüdischen Gemeinde gestützt. Einer Gemeinde, die nachweislich erst nach 1945 neu gegründet worden ist und erst 1948 durch Landesgesetz erstmal als Körperschaft anerkannt worden ist. Obwohl die jüdische Gemeinde Hamburg in keinerlei Kontinuität zum Tempelverband steht, hat sie sich öffentlich als Erbin des gesamten jüdischen Erbes in Hamburg dargestellt und dabei unter anderem behauptet, unser Verband täusche die Öffentlichkeit und gebe sich fälschlicherweise als Nachfolgegemeinde aus. Diese Anschuldigungen sind haltlos, historisch falsch und juristisch unbegründet. Dennoch wurde sie von der Stadt Hamburg aufgenommen und zur Grundlage eines sogenannten Gutachtens gemacht, das in der Wirklichkeit nicht unabhängig, sondern inhaltsidentisch ist mit den Interessen der jüdischen Gemeinde zu Hamburg. Nochmal, die jüdische Gemeinde hat unseren Verband in den letzten Jahren mit Unterlassungsverfügungen überzogen und uns öffentlich diskreditiert, Projekte blockiert und versucht, die Sichtbarkeit des liberalen Judentums systematisch zu verhindern. Wer sich nicht unterordnet, wird in Hamburg heute juristisch und öffentlich attackiert. Und auch das ist die Realität von heute. Wir besprechen heute deshalb nicht nur als Kläger in einer verwaltungsrechtlichen Verfahren, sondern auch als eine jüdische Gemeinschaft, die sich gegen jegliche strukturelle Marginalisierung und politische Ungleichbehandlung wehrt. Unsere Klage ist juristisch fundiert. Sie belegt, dass wir eine altkooperierte Körperschaft nach Artikel 140 Grundgesetz in Verbindung mit Artikel 137 Absatz 5 der Weimarer Reichsverfassung fortbestehen. Sie zeigt auf, dass der Körperschaftsstatus durch das nationalsozialistische Unrechtsregime von 1938 nicht rechtswirksam erloschen ist und dass die Wiederaufnahme unserer Tätigkeit 2004 kein Bruch, sondern eine Kontinuität in der religiösen Entwicklung darstellt. Diese Klage ist auch bei einer Akt der Sichtbarmachung und der Repräsentation. Wir stehen für ein Judentum, das historisch in Hamburg tief verwurzelt ist und das heute wieder lebt. In unserer Gemeinde versammeln sich Jüdinnen und Juden aus aller Welt, aus Russland, Israel, den USA, aus Deutschland und vielen anderen Ländern. Wir feiern Gottesdienste nach dem Hamburger Ritus. Wir pflegen unsere musikalische und liturgische Tradition und wir tragen zur religiösen Vielfalt in dieser Stadt bei. Die internationale Bedeutung unseres Anliegens ist unbestritten. Der Israelitische Tempelverband ist nicht irgendeine Gemeinde. Er ist die Wiege des weltweiten Reformjudentums, das heute Millionen Menschen prägt. Unsere Geschichte ist nicht nur die Hamburger Geschichte. Sie ist ein Teil der europäischen und Teil des amerikanischen Judentums. Sie ist ein kulturelles Weltkulturerbe und muss als solches anerkannt werden. Deshalb fordern wir nicht mehr und nicht weniger Rechtsgleichheit, Respekt und Anerkennung. Wir fordern, dass der Staat sich aus innerjüdischen Richtungsfragen heraushält und nicht länger durch institutionelle Bevorzugung einer Seite die andere unsichtbar macht. Wir haben in den letzten Jahren viel Geduld bewiesen, viele Gespräche geführt, viele Eingaben gemacht. Nun war der Weg zur Klage unumgänglich. Wir danken unseren Unterstützern, unseren Rechtsvertretern und vielen internationalen Stimmen, die sich solidarisch mit uns zeigen. Wir wissen, dass wir nicht alleine stehen. Wir hoffen auf eine Entscheidung im Sinne des Rechts, der Gleichbehandlung und der jüdischen Vielfalt. Vielen herzlichen Dank. Wir wissen, dass das Thema sehr schwierig ist. Also wir haben letztes Mal auch berichtet, man könnte einen 4-stündigen Vortrag über die Thematik halten und man hat immer noch nicht den Kern quasi erfahren. Daher ist es halt wichtig, vielleicht auch Gegenfragen, Verständnisfragen zu stellen. I just translate in English. We know that the topic is very, very complex. And we could talk for hours about this topic and we will have not even the ground of the whole story. So it's important to ask questions in case you have understanding problems or you don't understand what's going on in some parts. So in case you have some questions, we are here to answer, of course. Yes, there's one question.
Ja, bitte, stellen Sie die Frage.
Yes, we listen.
Julie?
Are you asking me?
Yes,
Okay, great. So as you said, I guess those of us who live outside Germany, this is a bit confusing. So I have a few basic questions. Number one, I understand you have no legal recognition, and that is what you are demanding. What would legal recognition give you?
That's, yes, the legal recognition is, there are two topics. There's the historical entity, which is the same as the founding community of Reform Judaism, which is important politically for our work because we see, or we are identically, and with this recognition, we get back the historical entity body, which is important because this has also to do with historical rights we have in legal issues, but also it means about in case of restitution, of course. This is not, at the moment, not an important topic, only in case with the Polstraße, because our community is clearly demanding, parallel to the Bornplatz synagogue, where the government and the Federal Republic investing 150 million euro to rebuild the former main Orthodox synagogue to save the World Heritage Site of the Polstraße synagogue, where Reform Judaism was spreading over the world as major heritage site and community center of our community. This is an important thing, and therefore we need this legal status back. And it had also a big status in recognition. In case when you have the status, you will be invited for governmental, like for example, they are administrative groups, and you will be part of the groups. You will be part of the broadcasting company, because the Jewish communities are sitting normally with this status in the board of the broadcasting company, for example. And also it's about taxes, because we have in Germany church tax. And when you have this entity, the church tax will be automatically detected from your salary. This was a big thing. And you are recognized officially by the government as a Jewish person, because this is going over the government, and then you are officially recognized as a liberal Jew and a member of the company of this congregation. So this has a huge impact, because the German system is so different than in other countries, but it has a big thing, because here politics and constitution and religion is a bit not separated, it's a bit shrink together. And therefore, it's very important to get this historical rights back.
So it's just so to clarify, if you would be recognized, that could potentially pave the way for the synagogue to be rebuilt and for you to have custody of it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And just one more question. Is the situation that you are describing where your denomination does not have legal status and where you are unable to receive back the synagogue that was once yours, is this unique to Hamburg, or has it happened in other places in Germany and this is more of a national problem?
I think this is in general, I think it's a global problem in Germany, because before the Shoah, we have different forms of Judaism. So we have Orthodox, we have conservative, we had liberal. And of course, after the Shoah, there were no liberals left, there were no conservative left, and the most numbers of people, very few survived, and the most are displaced person. And they had no idea about the historical rights they had, so the most community did not get their historical rights back. I just know one case in Berlin, which is Adas Israel. They received in the 90s their historical rights back, but they were never able to rebuild their former synagogue, unfortunately, due to lack of funding from the government and the Federal Republic, because the Federal Republic and the states, federal states, are giving the money for the most number of communities, synagogues, and center. It's not the communities. We don't have the money, but as Bornplatz or Rohnstraße, they get 30 millions from the Federal Republic. So that's why they are good and good communities. Not they're doing a better job than we do, but it's the recognition what makes the important difference. Because with this recognition, you are directly connected to federal and state funding from the Ministry of Inner Affairs and also from the Parliament. And without this recognition, most probably you will not get funding in these numbers. Yes.
Would it be possible for you to send us your statement by email?
Of course. Yes. No. We will send you the whole bunch.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Are there other questions in this regard? Haben Sie vielleicht etwas Fragen? Okay. Yeah, and with the lawsuit, ja.
Vielleicht eine Frage zu den Gesprächen mit dem Senat. Also es läuft ein bisschen länger. Sie hatten es ja schon angekündigt, dass Sie eine Klage erwägen würden.
Ja.
Wie muss ich mir Gespräche mit dem Senat vorstellen? Also das ist doch,
Also es ist ein abgeschlossenes Verfahren. Es ist so, dass wir die Bestätigung der historischen Körperschaft, mehr ist es ja nicht, bereits vor Jahren gestellt haben. Und wir sind seit, ich glaube, 2015 fanden erste Gespräche statt.
Den Antrag auf Körperschaftsantrag, aber dann haben wir das mal festgestellt, so durch die Jahre, dass der Körperschaft schon so einfach besteht.
Ja.
Deswegen 2020 haben wir das mal den Antrag geändert, beziehungsweise wir haben den Antrag auf Wiederherstellung des alten Körperschafts gestellt. Und dieses Verfahren läuft schon seit 5 Jahren. Und es gab wirklich so ganz viele Fristen, die abgelaufen sind. Wir haben einfach so festgestellt, dass wir einfach so mit anderen Mitteln so auch mal durchgehen müssen.
Und in diesem Verfahren ist es halt so, dass wir unsere Position darlegen müssen, dementsprechend das auch mit Rechtstexten belegen. Dann in diesem Verfahren ist es so, dass laut Aussagen des Senats die jüdische Gemeinde natürlich um ihre Position gebeten werden muss. Die haben daraufhin also erst hat der Senat, dann wurde die jüdische Gemeinde eingebunden, die hat dann ihre Rechtsauffassung, das ist ein Terminus, den wir aufpassen müssen, ihre Rechtsauffassung zu Papier gebracht und das dann der Öffentlichkeit als Gutachten, Rechtsgutachten verkauft. Das war eine Rechtsauffassung und die auch letztendlich rechtlich, juristisch sehr fragwürdig sind. Sie behaupten, allein Erbe von allen Körperschaften in Hamburg zu sein. Auch des Tempelverbandes selbstredend, von Altona, von Wandsbek, was rechtlich völlig verrückt ist eigentlich. Und wie schon gesagt, es war eine Rechtsauffassung und die jüdische Gemeinde ist halt kein altkooperierter Verband. Sie hat nie historische Körperschaftsrechte zurückbekommen, sondern die Gerichte Mitte der 50er Jahre haben eine Nutzungsnachfolge festgestellt. Und dieses Verfahren von der Anerkennung von der britischen, amerikanischen Militärregierung, die ist in dem Moment ausschlaggebend, das war ein mehrstufiges Verfahren und das wurde nie abgeschlossen in diesem Fall. Also der Status der jüdischen Gemeinde, obwohl sie das in der Öffentlichkeit behaupten, ist nie richtig festgestellt worden. Und wir bezweifeln erheblich, dass sie überhaupt von irgendeiner historischen Gemeinde Rechtsnachfolgerin ist. Also unsere Anwälte, nicht wir, sondern unsere Anwältin hat das dementsprechend dargelegt. Da gibt es auch zum Beispiel, der Senat wollte von uns ein eigenes Rechtsgutachter haben, aber im Fall des Tempelverbandes gibt es bestimmt eine juristische Dissertation von 1907, wohlgemerkt, die den Status des Tempelverbandes eindeutig erklärt hat. Und insofern, da ist auch historisch gesehen von Historiker Ina Lorenz ist die Sache eigentlich relativ gut beachtet worden. Und wir werden jetzt gucken, dass wir diesen Status feststellen und damit auch hoffentlich auch die Streitigkeit, weil ich muss dazu sagen, wir haben hier keinen innerjüdischen Konflikt, sondern den Konflikt ist durch Politik gemacht worden. Ja, wir wollen eigentlich in Frieden leben. Wir behaupten oder wir sagen auch, dass es ein politischer Konflikt ist, nicht ein innerjüdischer Konflikt, sondern den Konflikt, den wir haben, hat die Hamburger Politik durch Auslassen und Herauslassen unserer Gemeinde im Staatsvertrag 2007. Wir mussten die Landesleistung einklagen und wir sind in der Landesleistung inkludiert als Anhang, der in der Öffentlichkeit kaum bekannt ist. Das heißt, wir sind staatlich akzeptiert, aber nur so als Randnotiz. Und das ist eine Sache, die man 2007 hätte man uns als gleichberechtigte Gemeinde schon in den Staatsvertrag aufnehmen müssen. Und das haben wir dem Senat auch unmissverständlich gesagt, dass wir das auch möchten. Wir wollen gleiche Rechte, wir wollen gleich behandeln, wir wollen gleiche Förderung. Das heißt, wenn der Steuerzahler eine orthodoxe Hauptsynagoge wieder aufbaut mit liberalen Gebetsraum, ich möchte der Terminus Gebetsraum ist in dem Moment entscheidend. Wir möchten eine liberale Synagoge und keinen Gebetsraum. Das sind zwei verschiedene Paar Schuhe. Ein Gebetsraum da wird danach ein Kaffeewagen reingerollt. Das hat keine Würde. Und eine liberale Synagoge, und Hamburg hat 2 liberale Synagogen, die noch stehen, wohlgemerkt in der Oberstraße und die Teilruine in der Polstraße. Und da ist so ein bisschen die ganze Diskussion, hat eine gewisse Schieflage. Ich würde mir wünschen, dass man beide Projekte von Anfang an gleichberechtigt hat. Es gab auch schon von der Bezirksversammlung in Eimsbüttel den Tenor im Vorfeld der Bornplatz-Diskussion, dass unsere Gemeinde das Verfahren mit aufgenommen werden muss. Und sie haben recht, wir hätten gefragt werden müssen. Und das hat man nicht gemacht. Ja, also das ist, nein, beim Bornplatz. Weil wir haben dem Senat und auch Frau Fegebank unsere Bedürfnisse mitgeteilt. Und in der Machbarkeitsstudie hätte das berücksichtigt werden müssen. Ne, das sind auch was den Rechnungshof angeht, entscheidende Sachen, auch was staatliche Neutralität angeht. Weil der Staat hat sich neutral zu verhalten und hat beide Gemeinden, da gibt es auch ein Bundesverfassungsgerichtsurteil, gleichberechtigt zu fördern. Da gibt es kein Wenn oder Aber. Findet auch keine Diskussion mehr statt. Wenn der Senat sich eindeutig sagt, wir fördern beide Gemeinden gleichberechtigt, dann kann es auch keine Diskussion mehr geben. Und das ist staatliche Neutralität, so wie es sein sollte. Und wenn sich eine dritte jüdische Gemeinde, eine konservative bildet, Bevakascha, dann soll sie bitte auch gleichberechtigt behandelt werden. Aber wir haben natürlich andere Rechte. Das ist jetzt eine andere Story. Aber das ist auch das bunte jüdische Leben und ein aktives jüdisches Leben, was unser erster Bürgermeister auch immer sagt. Er möchte ein vielfältiges, buntes jüdisches Leben fördern. Das würde ich mir auch wünschen. Da sind wir absolut einer Meinung. Aber er versteht scheinbar was anderes darunter als wir. Ist eine schwierige Sache. This was now very much German.
Noch eine Frage. Die wurde teilweise oder dabei noch?
Ja, wie erklären Sie sich die bisherigen Widerstand und Zögern seitens der Stadt? Ja, das Verfahren wurde massiv verschleppt. Das haben wir haben die Akteneinsicht erhalten und der Senat hat natürlich, das ist jetzt Vermutung, mit natürlich diese Bornplatz-Geschichte, mögen Sie vielleicht Probleme haben, dass Sie das in trockene Tücher haben möchten. Ich weiß es nicht, das ist jetzt reine Spekulation, aber auf jeden Fall, der Senat verschleppt dieses Verfahren. Deswegen hatten wir eine Fristsetzung gegeben und die Fristsetzung hat der Senat kommentarlos verstreichen lassen. Insofern mussten wir jetzt aktiv werden, um auch unsere Position, die juristisch sehr versiert und sehr detailliert dargelegt worden ist, durch eine renommierte Anwaltskanzlei jetzt dem Gericht mitteilen, um ja auch für klare politische Verhältnisse zu sorgen, was es eigentlich dem Senat auch einfacher macht, in Zukunft zu handeln. Beide werden gleich behandelt, Punkt. Ja. Also die genauen Hintergründe weiß ich nicht, aber auf jeden Fall wird das ganze Verfahren massiv verschleppt.
Weitere Frage?
I will translate in English. Which support will come from the World Union in this case to protect and to support the Hamburg community in particular this case with the status and the Polstraße.
We are like a global organization. We decide to came here to be in person to talk with the political different spectrum and to have conversations, because we believe that we cannot really scale up in the international arena without talking first with the local representation. That means, first of all, to support our local leadership and to back them like part of our global organization. We can't really understand the context that some streams undermine the importance, the role of the reform movement worldwide. And the only way that we can show up that we are one of the biggest movements worldwide, like a denomination, is to come and to explain that this is not a local issue, this is a global issue. And we will do everything that we can to support our local leadership, but not only in the justice, we will really start in the diplomatic international arena to present the case. Because it doesn't make any sense that the federal government of German Republic have a law, have a really clear understanding about what means diversity, inclusiveness, minorities, different streams, different religions, immigration. Is a clear policy that we are so proud that Sherman is so really open, diverse, and inclusive. But inside the country, you have some groups that really take over the opportunity to respect the diversity inside the Jewish life. That means that we need to scale up, and our idea after we will finish our conversations here locally in the state of Hamburg is to really present the case in the German embassies worldwide.
Whom are you going to meet? We are going to meet. We are going to meet today parties. So the ruling parties of the parliament, the Hamburg Parliament, the Green Party, and the Social Democratic Party. This afternoon we will meet the Linkspartei. And in the afternoon, there will be a meeting with the Senate. Unfortunately, it's just the state secretary person and not anybody from the Senate itself. So whether the first mayor, the second mayor or not, nobody. It's just the state secretary. And that's a clear sign where the importance is. And it would be, just because we have the president of the World Union here, I think to invite him officially from the mayor would be a good sign of goodwill, but it was not happening. And we will announce, we have announced that the president of the World Union, representing 1.8 million members worldwide, will come to Hamburg. And they said, no, you just will meet the state secretary person.
But also, like a federal country, we have a different answer from different states. For example, I met yesterday the secretary in the Senate in Berlin, and we have a friendly conversation. And we realized that there are different reactions in different really states. It's not the same thing in every place. That means that we are really concerned that in some point we will need to talk with the minister, the Federal Minister of Interior. And also I believe that when, for example, we give an example, when we visit with the case, the German ambassador in Washington, this guy really knows what means reform Judaism because he is in the state. You cannot really deny in countries like US and other countries the importance of our stream. And in countries that they are proud to be pluralistic and democratic, you cannot really make this kind of discrimination. That means that for us, and it's important to say, we are not starting and not leading the process. We are backing the process. That means it's not a general rule in the world that we have this kind of problems. But I can give you two examples. We have the problem in Israel. that is a political coalition under Orthodox extortion, that we know that we are fighting in the Supreme Court in Israel about our rights. And we are doing this every day, and for us it's clear that is our status because political reason. But this is not a surprise because you understood what is the political deal. Small parties go to the ultra-Orthodox parties and they build a coalition. That means we are lost there. I will give an example. Bibi Netanyahu today, he's in the center left of the government. He's not more the right, he's on the left because he really built a coalition with the extreme, crazy right, saying things that you cannot really understood. How can be that the state of Israel have a government with this political approach and values? That means, and also this is also for me an opportunity to make clear in the context that we are living and also here in Germany, we need to make a clear differentiation between the state of Israel and the right of the state of Israel and the government of Israel. We are not backing any government of Israel because like any government, you can criticize, you can say, I don't really like this, I don't really accept that, it's not aligned with my values, it's not aligned with my approach. But another thing is the state of Israel. And then we are struggling in the state of Israel about the government of Israel that don't give us recognition. But this is Israel and we know what is the rule of the game. The surprise here is that we know what is the rule of the game in Germany, like a pluralistic, democratic, and with the law that back us to have our rights. And there are some really political constellations about an agreement with some political parties and the establishment of the political representation of the Jewish community. This is really important. The Central Rat is a political organization, like a unified community that represents the community in front of governments and in front of everyone that said, I need to talk with the Jewish community. And then we have a political representation that really makes sense. You cannot, like a government, to sit with every community to deal about the Jewish agenda in the political level. But also the law in Germany is so clear that this political representation cannot become a religious institution that undermine the different streams in any religion. We are not talking about Judaism. We're talking the same thing. I can say, if imagine that in Christianity, you have the Protestant representation that take over the representation of the Christianity and say, with evangelists, you don't talk, money to the Catholic Church, you don't send, because we take over the formal representation for all the Christianity. This is the same case here. What we are saying is we are not saying that the Central Rat, like a political organization, can represent the political agenda of the Jewish community, but never to really cut the funding, take over our premises, and not recognize our role. And this is the reason, answering the question, why the WUPJ need to scale up this discussion, because I understood the status quo. Nobody really want to have a problem with the Central Rat. You know why? Because I will come into the mess of the internal discussion of the Jewish community. No, I keep the status quo. I don't really want problems. But my role is to make noise and to bring new problems to the politicians. If you don't pay attention about our local rights, we need to go around the world, and maybe the ambassador need to start to call the foreign minister of the Federal Republic. Not the interior minister, the foreign one, saying, what's going on? We have people coming to our embassies saying that we are not ruling according our status, role, values, and what we declare, because this is, I understood that it's very tricky, but people doesn't know what we are dealing here. Doesn't know. They say, okay, the Jewish people, I don't know, this is an internal issue. No, it's not an internal issue. That for me is an issue of the German federal government policies. that is silent and indifferent to this kind of discrimination. But we are not blaming the government first. What we are doing is bringing the case. And also, it's really important, the work in the justice. Why? Because some of the politicians don't really want to pay the price to be involved. But if the court says you have the right, there are no choice. There are no choice. And this is for me not exactly the only level that we need to have a discussion. I think that is the last option, because the first one was to send letters, to have a conversation, to have a dialogue. And now we are taking the risk, what's going on in court, when we really have the goodwill to have a friendly conversation about our rights. And our Orthodox fellows, we are not asking that they don't receive nothing, that they don't have rights, that they don't have his own premises. This is the difference for me about liberal approach and extreme approach. That means it's not fair to say that the problem is with the Orthodox community. No, it's the political view of extremes that doesn't accept diversity. If we have fellows in any community, but in our community, that have a different way to practice our tradition, fair enough. This is for us the richness of the Jewish tradition. We don't have not the true, not the only way. From the very beginning, I can tell you that from Moses, we are discussing everything, no? Everything. And we are rebelled, and we say no, we say yes, but we live together like a pluralistic cultural civilization. Why now? Because some groups came later, because they came later. We are talking about the history. This is not an interpretation. The history of this Jewish community in Germany. Because we have the tragedy of the Shoah. We have a tragedy of Shoah. But this is not the same balance between Orthodox and liberal. Because Orthodox came after, when our people was displaced or killed. How we can really take over about our buildings, our Jewish life after the Shoah. But if we are coming later, no matter how long will take, we want our historical rights and not really to displace the Orthodox community, not to coexist, to live together, to respect each other. And because this is not a theological discussion, it's a political one, we need to come to the field of politics, of lawyers and justice, and political lobby, now worldwide. That means the short answer is the World Union will take over the political international arena, and we are ready to go with the case everywhere.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So from what I understand then, it is really the Central Council that is standing in your way. And is it because they want this particular property, or is it because they don't think a non-Orthodox movement should be recognized?
I can give you my personal answer from my experience here. That means it's not only Hamburg. And my work is to really realize the inventory of all the cities and places and cases that we have, that the Central Rad, like a global national institution, is doing what they are doing. And I cannot give you the reasons. I can share with you the facts. Everyone can make his own interpretation why the Central Rad, that must be a neutral religious institution and cannot really interfere with the different denominations inside the Jewish religion, why they are doing what they are doing. And also I have another question, if you maybe want to check out how they really use 22 million euros that they receive from the federal government.
But have they said outright that they do not believe you should be recognized?
Yes, what they are saying right now is they can take over the liberal movement and to make his own representation of the liberal movement, because they say we are the central right. And we are explaining to them, you are the central right for a political representation, not for a religious representation. And this is exactly the conflict. That means our conflict is that they are taking over something that is not in the mission and the constitution of the central right. That's our request. And the evidence is when they cut finance. For example, we have the case of the Abraham Geiger College, the WUPJ. There are leading cases that they cut unilaterally to send the funds that they receive from the federal government. And they say, this is our money. No, it's not your money. You need to make the distribution and the allocation of the federal government money. And then when you make your discretional decision, who receives it and who doesn't receive, you move from your political umbrella representation to take a side between the religious denominations in Judaism. That means, but again, we are not trying really to convince, not the central right, not a stream. We really believe in the law and the status of the government, the state government, the federal government, and we are asking is not for an internal recognition of the central right. What we are trying to say is someone needs really to put the central right in his place, and we need to receive the support, the facilities, and the equity. Why you decide in Hamburg to invest money for one community and not to invest to our historical community, the same money for our historical synagogue? What's the reason? And the answer will be because the central right decide that this is the first building that they are using, or there are some internal commitments with one stream inside the central right to make these kind of priorities. And what we are saying right now is we have an historical track record and we have an historical right, and cannot be here in this state, in this country, with the price that we pay in the Shoah, that we need to beg, we need to cry, we need to beg for the recognition of our historical roots. And the only one that can really listen to us, for me, is this Hamburg state and the federal government. Because this is the law, this is the rule, and this is the state. This is not that someday the Jewish community in a new ghetto have a decision how we need to organize ourselves, or how we need really to use money for our needs. We are talking about federal taxes for the church, and we are a church. But the central right is not a church. They really want to be the church, but this is not the case. And this is what we are trying really to point out.
Now, just one more question. You said before that this is indicative of a larger problem around Germany, and really only one synagogue was repatriated to the community. Is this the first time that any congregation in Germany is taking this matter to court? And are you hoping that this could set a precedent, and maybe others will, as a result of this action, follow suit?
For us, like the World Union is a very emblematic case. It's not the only one. We have the case also in the Constitutional Court from the WUPJ, that is the national umbrella organization of the liberal movement like a church. And we have the case of the Abraham Geiger College that also they cut the funding, and this also is on the Constitutional Court. The truth is, everything is bad news, but I give you only one good news. They take the case. The Constitutional Court take the case. Okay, we'll take another year. We wait 2 years. we need to wait another one. But in the track record of the Constitutional Court, they used to refuse cases. They don't really like to take cases. But this is a good signal for us that if they took the case, there is a case.
I think they're just taking 5% of all cases. So you see 5% will only be taken by the court. So they took it so it's a good sign that we have a political problem in this country. And this is, I agree, we have a political problem. Yeah, the politic, and they can be solved.
Yeah, and also I think that now that we are trying to do, and I really want to thank you to take the time and to be with us, is also we need the awareness and the acknowledge of all the civil society and not only like an internal Jewish matter. This is important for us that social media or press give us the opportunity to tell what's going on. We are not saying that we need the support to lobby for us. We are saying we need really to communicate, to share the information. We have facts, we have documents, and everyone can make his own conclusions. But we have a case here that we believe that the media and the press can be very, very useful to help us, that is to help all of us for democratic inclusiveness and values that we share.
Kurze Nachfrage, weil es so schnell ging. Die beiden Fälle, die vor Bundesverfassungsgericht sind.
Ja.
Welche sind das?
Das ist einmal der Fall der Union Progressiver Juden, weil der Zentralrat der Union Progressiver Juden von den Staatsgeldern, also von den Fördergeldern, ist die Union angeschlossen, prozentual. Und der Zentralrat hat einfach ohne Vorwarnung der Union einen riesigen Betrag gestrichen. Und da hat die Union gesagt, das gefährdet unsere Existenz und wir müssen dagegen klagen. Und das hat das Bundesverfassungsgericht jetzt angenommen. Also Sie sehen, das ist ein globales Problem, womit wir es hier zu tun haben.
Und bei dem Abraham Geiger College, da geht es um Restitution.
Nee, beim Abraham Geiger College ist es so, dass der Zentralrat eine Parallelorganisation geschaffen hat. Das heißt, die Levinsohn-Stiftung. Und da ist das Regina-Jonas-Kolleg, ich weiß jetzt die Namen der anderen nicht, daran geschlossen. Da werden die liberale, konservative und orthodoxe Rabbiner ausgebildet, parallel zum Abraham Geiger Kolleg. Und das Abraham Geiger Kolleg hatte eine gewisse Eigenständigkeit. Und die Gefahr besteht bei dieser Sache, dass die dadurch die Macht besitzen, den liberalen Gemeinden zum Beispiel keine Rabbiner mehr zur Verfügung zu stellen, um uns auszudünnen. Das ist eine Riesengefahr. Und die World Union hat zu Recht gesagt, ihr greift in unsere Religionsgemeinschaft ein. Und wir verwehren uns davor. Das geht so nicht. Und das ist dieser Case, der jetzt hier auch vom Bundesverfassungsgericht auch geklagt wird. I just translated the case.
Yeah, the case is important for us because we come here to say that we have only one seminar that is Reform and Liberal, is the Abraham Geiger College. And we cannot accept that the Zentralrat want to create another seminar for the liberal movement without our acknowledged permission and authorization. This is a political game to try to cover the story and say, no, also we take care about the liberal movement. You cannot take care about the liberal movement because this is not your mission. This seminar is not our seminar, is not aligned with our values. And you can really bring independent people to create something that seems to be liberal, but for us it's fake. It's not liberal because we are the only international organization that can give the accreditation, what means be our local representative institutions in any field, like a synagogue, like a seminar, like this thing. And this is another evidence that is the case that we are taking. When you, the Zentralrat, create a new foundation and a new seminar, and you came to the same university that we have our theological institute, the Potsdam University. You have a lot of universities. No, you came exactly to the same that we are, 25 years. And you really try to take this over and to say, no, the Zentralrat have in Berlin a new liberal seminar. This is also the reason that we are here. You say, no, this is something that you want to do for you, but this doesn't belong to us. That means under the Sherman law, we, the church of the Reform Liberal movement, we are the only one that can say for the government, not for the Zentralrat, what means part of our movement, part of our church. And this is the reason that we need to be proactive And in some cases, we need to be a little aggressive to say, stop. Because when some people, you know this from politics, when some people are in the extremes, they are not asking for permission. They don't are sitting with you to have a deal. They take over. And that means that we need really to be here to avoid the takeover of our movement. Because it's not only the case here in Hamburg. That is one of the questions. For us, this is one leading case. I can say the historical, emblematic leading case. And we have in Berlin the last evolution of how the Central Rat moved from a political representation to take over everything for the Jewish community. And the first thing that we need to be aware is money, because you know that money and funds is power. And the power is not coming for the law and for the legal status, is coming for the neutrality and the silence of the government that is saying, this is not my issue, I don't really want to have problems. This is the money for the Jewish people, this is an internal issue between Jewish institutions. And we are here to say, no, this is a public affair under the law. And you cannot say, you need to deal this between you. We are not more in the ghetto stage that we live in a ghetto. We live in a federal democratic republic. And we are citizens, but they are yet. We are citizens. That means we have rights under the law. You cannot really bring again to the citizen status, that this is another law for Jewish people, another structure for Jewish people, and we accept the political representation, but we doesn't accept a Jewish government. There are not a Jewish government. They cannot use not the money, not to decide who is a Jew, who is a part of that, who really belongs, who doesn't belong, the buildings, the money, the status. And we realize that it's a global issue. This is not the only place that we have this problem. This is part of the polarization in politics, it's part of the polarization in religion, it's part of this crazy world that loses his mind. Because we are living in a time that is not a normal time. No, we are here in Europe, and also Germany, that was the leader country of the European Union, leading about really amazing things for the global world, sustainability, climate change, evolution about integration of immigration. I was aware about how we moved from the Germany, from the pre-war, to the Germany that really built and sustained the European Union. But now we have a war here in Europe. And we have really a country like Russia, that was the former Soviet Union, with a guy that really wants to create the new Soviet Union and take over Crimea, and it's a war in Ukraine, despite the mess that we have in the Middle East. But this is for me a crossover interpretation about what's going on. This is for us some specific symptom inside the Jewish community, but we need to take this, for me, like a more global interpretation, that we are losing our values. And the social democracy that we believe and we really support is failing to give concrete answers to the people.
Thank you very much.
No, sorry, I am passionate.
No, but it's so you see, it's such a, and we have not even touched 60% of the whole thing. So there are many levels also that, for example, liberal communities must check their community members and cards by organization from the Zentralrat to get for public funding. So imagine, we try to protect ourselves because we have to deal with the Union Progressiver Juden. They came and checked our data, and they made a paper for the government. We checked all the people, and they're Jewish with a stamp on it. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and you see, the Zentralrat is deciding in this country who's Jewish and who's not. For example, people come from Ukraine. We had a case the ZWST, which is the social organization, declared this family is not Jewish. I am not a Russian speaker, but I can read Russian, and within 20 minutes, I had the records from the Central Archive in Ukraine declaring that this family is since 1850 Orthodox halachic Jewish. And they got problems, and they were crying. And you see, there are many levels of problems we have, and it's a political problem.
Yeah, but I also want to stress that the problem is in the political level of the authority of the state and the authority of the federal government, because they can do this only because they allow to them to do that. The government, the politics allow to them to do these crazy things. I cannot really argue with them because they are taking this place because no one put them in the right place under the law. And this is, for me, this is the root, the pillars of civilization. Civilization is not that we have an agreement to coexist. First of all, we have institutions, we have the rule of the game, and then we can coexist. Because seems to be, when really from the very beginning, from Genesis, from the beginning of the world, that is very difficult to humankind to arrive to understandings, how we can really live together like a family. We need rules, we need law, we need systems, we need standards. And this is exactly what makes us a civilization. And also in the Republic is a social democracy. Without rules, we are lost. And that's what we are really asking for. We are not asking to be right. We are asking to be under the law. Okay.
Are there other questions? I know the topic is very serious and quite tough. So, I think I will take over to Gala.
Ich würde sehr gerne einfach vorschlagen, dass wir am Ende unserer Pressekonferenz eine Minute für Israel einlegen mit Gebet. Should we end with a 1 minute of silence for Israel? This prayer. I know that all of our members have relatives in Israel, and we are very worried. And as a